President Trump is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today. Netanyahu says the focus will be on the ongoing nuclear negotiations with Iran. Israel says the talks must deal with limiting Iran's ballistic missiles and its support of militant groups in the region. Foreign correspondent Tom Soufi Burridge and ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy are here for more. So, Tom, let's start with you. This meeting between Trump and Netanyahu is closed to the press for now. Could change, as always, with this president, but two sources tell ABC News that Netanyahu will personally present the latest Israeli intelligence to the president on Iran's efforts to rebuild its ballistic missile program and nuclear program. So how big of a deal is this?
Yeah, I think that's at the crux of everything, Perry. I mean, not only the nuclear program, right? I mean, President Trump in his interview with Axios is saying it's a no-brainer that Iran's nuclear program have to be part of a deal. But he's also saying that he'd also want limitations on Iran's ballistic missile program to be in there too. And this is the Israelis, as the Prime Minister Netanyahu goes to Washington, sits face-to-face with President Trump. This is the Israeli government pressing their case that not only should that nuclear program be the focus of the talks, but also there should be other red lines which the US should extract demands from the Iranians on, namely the ballistic missile program that Israel says Iran has already started to rebuild. And this is crucial. You really should, I think, underline at this stage, though, that the Iranians have ruled out any concessions on that particular issue. And even on the nuclear issue, the Iranian and the US position are pretty far apart. I mean, the US has suggested that it basically is pressing for a deal with Iran where Iran would have no nuclear program, not have the ability to enrich any uranium. And only on Sunday, Iran's foreign minister basically said that is not acceptable for the Iranian government. The Iranian regime is pressing for at least the ability to enrich uranium for what they say are civilian uses.
Mick, let's talk about Iran. Where do you think Iran stands in all of this? Do you think they would want an agreement with the U.S.?
So, Perry, I do think they want an agreement with the U.S. One of the underlying issues with the protests in Iran is the economic crisis that's currently underway. And part of the sanctions is causing that. So if they got the sanctions relieved, that could relieve some of the pressure on them. But to Tom's point, they're going to be very hesitant, I think, to include things like ballistic missile programs and their support to proxies, or what they call allies, in the region. It underscores their basic national security and their basic way they conduct diplomacy. But Israel is clearly going to push for all those to be included. They don't want to see a nuclear agreement that doesn't have those in it.
Mick, can you walk us through the process on how this would all work? So let's just say, for argument's sake, that Israel and the U.S. come to an agreement. Then what? What's the next process?
Well, if the agreement is that any new agreement between the U.S. and Iran includes all three of those variables, so very stringent restraints on nuclear programs, ballistic missile capacity, proxy force funding, then they would have to go back to Iran and see if they would even entertain talking about all three of those things in any kind of negotiation. It is clear that the United States has the ability. Now they're talking about sending a second aircraft carrier strike group to the region. They have the ability to mitigate, for example, both the nuclear program and the ballistic missile manufacturing sites and launch sites. So by military means. So this is going toward one or the other. Either this is probably going to be a military action, or Iran's going to agree to negotiate on terms that are more favorable to the United States. We'll have to wait and see if that works.
And Tom, Trump and Netanyahu will also discuss Gaza. What are you watching for there?
Yeah, I think Gaza is going to feature more than we actually anticipated a few days ago, Perry. And that is because we're seeing increasing signals from the Israeli government that they are frustrated at the lack of tangible progress on Hamas disarming in Gaza. We haven't seen any tangible progress on that issue. That is at the heart of everything in terms of Trump's overall peace plan for the Gaza Strip. And we're hearing from one Israeli source saying that effectively the peace program in Gaza is not progressing at all, and they are suggesting that the IDF might need to carry out another military operation in Gaza against Hamas. And so that issue, I think, is a potential point of tension between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, because President Trump's peace plan involves very key Arab allies in the region. In just over a week from now in Washington, D.C., Trump's Board of Peace is due to meet, and the Trump administration has put forward a very ambitious plan for reconstructing Gaza, but it all comes back to whether or not Hamas can disarm, so that will be an interesting point of discussion too.
All right, Tom and Mick, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.